This is Story Route Zero, a podcast where friends gather to talk of their travels through the good, the bad, the ugly, the funny, and even the confusing worlds encountered in games. We may not always know where we're going, but that's often half the fun. Do you have a question, comment, concern, or a story of your own? Hit us up on Twitter at storyroute_0. You can email us at storyroute0@gmail.com, and you can find everything we do at storyroute0.com. Let's have a journey. Now, in my younger days, I used to sport a shag, and when I went to school, I carried lunch in a bag. Welcome to Story Route Zero, episode number 16, I believe. I was out last week, and so I have no concept of time anymore. My name is Matthew Keel. I have a full road posse with me. Moose, how are you, sir?
Doing well, man. Doing well.
Awesome. Jason, what sort of hellhole are you in today?
We're back to the wasteland for a bit.
Okay, cool. All right.
Oh, you had video games, not real life.
No, what's behind you?
Still the wastelands. The answer is still the wastelands.
Still the wasteland.
That's true.
Just stick with that.
And we have a Captain Canada in tow. How are you, sir?
I'm excellent. Thank you for asking.
Awesome. Glad to have you. And we have not one, but two guests. One of them returning, Michaela, representing obelisk.co. How are you?
I'm great. I'm good. I'm loving back here. I always love going on here.
Oh, we're happy to have you as always. Is that a Clemson cap or a Baltimore Orioles one?
That is a Clemson cap, sir.
Okay. I was like, man, that's disparate options. And we have a Captain Canada, and we have one of his many, many lieutenants, Justin Das. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
No, sir. Thank you for coming on. So,
Right.
Story Route Zero. First, we talk about what happened this weekend. Anybody? Moose, first up, thumbs up, thumb down weekend. I want the record to show he says thumbs up. Justin, you're the newest person here. Let's talk about you. What'd you do this weekend? Anything? Not game related, just anything.
Oh, anything in the weekend? I watched that last Rambo movie, that latest one. It's on Amazon Prime for anyone who's listening. They reached the bottom of the well for those movies.
They made another Rambo movie.
Another Rambo movie. It follows just like that last one.
John Rambo and John McClane are national treasures. You watch your mouth.
I love the first four movies.
Not really arguing that, but some of those movies are real bad.
Not arguing that, but just watch your mouth.
You show your respect, sir. Captain or Michaela, how about you? What'd you do this weekend?
I honestly don't think I did much besides play video games so long as I was conscious. So
nice.
Once again, that clean living coming out of Michaela. Captain Canada, it's been a while since you were on. What you been up to, sir?
Not too much. I've been off work because of recent events, and so I've kind of lost track of the days. So when you asked how the weekend was, I couldn't really remember. Kind of all been one big weekend, but
to be fair, I'm still working, and it's still hard to figure out what day it is anymore.
Yeah, I had to think about it. So it's been a good, long, extended weekend. But nothing big. Just spending time with the family.
Cool. Have y'all seen that meme where it's like 7 Spider-Man standing around, and it's like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and they're all like pointing at each other, like, no, you're sitting. It's like,
so it's been good. Just enjoying my time off, and having fun when I can.
Cool.
A lot of records being spun.
Same.
Nice. That's
Same.
always a good thing.
Oh yeah.
There we go. That's
So, Jason, how is the wasteland? I mean, New Jersey.
the wasteland.
Yeah. That was good. It's good.
Now, are you? I forget. Are you in the section of New Jersey that just inexplicably cannot make left turns?
No, we have
Okay.
left turns. We do
Okay.
have those stupid jug handles,
Okay.
but
Yeah. Roundabouts and no left turns. That's New Jersey to me.
I'm also a native New Yorker, so
Oh,
left, right, nah. Red light
I'm
means
driving
stop.
here.
Speed limit's a suggestion, right?
Exactly. On PA, we park by feel, so
Yeah, they do.
Oh, there was only one tap? I'm good.
Yeah.
You're too close.
How's the weekend? Good.
Good. We watched that new Disney movie Onward.
Okay.
It was pretty good.
Cool.
There was no singing.
That's good.
Yeah,
Is that good or bad?
that's good. Because then that means that's not another soundtrack I have to buy.
Had a pretty. My weekend was kind of blah, and it was nice. Got a lot of relaxing done. It was cool. But now I'm gonna move right in because we've got a big cast here, so we've got a lot to talk about. Let's go to games. Captain Canada.
That's how
I'm gonna start with you.
First.
I'm gonna start with you. The reason being is I know Justin and Michaela are here for a specific purpose, and I would kind of like them to end it if that's okay with everybody.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, to keep, we have a big discussion later, so I'll keep it a little brief. So I did Thimbleweed Park. Now we're going to do that for our game club, so I won't go too deep into it.
Next week.
Yeah, so it's...
Or no, 2 weeks, I'm sorry.
I was going to
2
say,
weeks.
whoa, next week. I really got to get on.
They blur together.
It's an old school adventure, and the amount of time it'll take you is directly related to how intelligent you are. So it took me quite a long time to finish. And so, all the puzzles make sense. They're not quite as obtuse as some of the later adventure games got. They all make sense. There's no fail state. You can't die. You can miss some achievements, but you can't die in the game. You can't fail. So it took me, I think,
Challenge accepted.
13 or so hours. But I loved it. I thought it was great. We'll go into further detail later on. But yeah, I did that one. And I've been playing mostly this game called Over the Alps, which if you've ever heard of a game called 80 Days, that's probably...
I love that game.
Yeah, so that's probably the closest, comparison I can make. And you're basically a British secret agent, and you're trying to get over the Alps. You're trying to escape with something, and you're being chased by some people. And the whole game is presented as a series of postcards that you're sending home to one of your contacts named Aubrey. And so the writing is really, really good. It's not that long. It's kind of made to be replayed multiple different times. So, if you enjoy heavy narrative games that are $10 and you can invest 3-4 hours into and get a really good story from, this might be something that interests you. If you liked 80 Days, you'll love this. So the writing's really good. The ending I got was very, very satisfying. I'm trying to make it as non-spoilery as possible because it's all heavy dialogue. It's all, the art's really good, but it's very minimalist. That just came out last week or so. So I played that, and just odds and ends here and there. I've been playing lots of multiplayer stuff, Team Fortress 2, Siege, Overwatch. But yeah, that's mostly what I've been playing, and I'm enjoying it quite a bit.
Moose, let's go to you.
Just been playing some more Division 2. Decided to try and tackle the Dark Zone trophies. I just wanted to tell a little funny story. I was playing early in the morning because I was like, well, it's early in the morning, and if I'm going to try and do this, nobody's going to be on. And so someone was doing an extraction nearby, and I was like, I'm going to go steal their loot and get there's a trophy for stealing someone's extraction. So I roll up on these two guys, and this other guy is trying to do what I was doing, so I helped them kill him. And then we ended up joining groups, and so we're running around the dark zone. And he's like, that guy's gonna come back. He's trying to steal stuff. I was like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I was gonna try and steal your stuff too, but I just felt it was easier to kill that guy, help you kill him. You know what I mean? And so. And then we just ran around the dark zone a bunch.
Please tell me there was a moment where he just turned with his gun pointed at you.
He
like,
did. He
was
laughed
like,
because
"What'd you say, boy?"
Because I was like, I'm just after the trophy. He's like, oh. He's like, you could have did that. And so I think we're probably gonna like play again some other time and do it. And we were talking about the raid, Matt, which we'll talk about later. He's got a group of people that we might be able to get into to do.
Oh, sweet, awesome.
Yes, so he's looking for people to do it, and so I said I got somebody. But anyways, so we were running around doing manhunts, and then we went rogue a bunch of times and became, the manhunt targets, which was fun. I am not spec'd for Dark Zone at all. I'm totally PvE, not PvP. So it was a good time. But then just playing recently, I helped Alan get his character up to 40 and beat the game.
Awesome.
So he's having a good time with it. And then more of what we're going to talk about later. So that's pretty much it.
Cool. Jason?
I went back to Fallout because the Wastelanders came out this week.
Oh, they finally made it a Fallout game, huh?
Now, to defend Jason a little bit here, I'm a diehard Fallout fan, but I've not played 76. And there's an article I think on PC Gamer that said pretty much that. It's that Fallout 76 finally feels like a Fallout game.
It feels like Fallout 4.5 now.
Okay. Now, depending on which side of the Fallout 4 argument you fall on, because a lot of people did not like that one. Didn't think it was as horrible as everyone else did, but it wasn't 3.
I will say, as someone who put the amount of hours in, it didn't feel good at first for me because a lot of the early stuff is for new players to kind of get you in there. So a lot of stuff I was doing, like at one point you had to go back to your base and wait to see who would show up, and then you attack them. My base is equipped with multiple laser turrets and rocket launchers, stuff you wouldn't have at level 5. They showed up, and I had to search for their body 300 yards away because it launched them. Because we went all Fallout Ragdoll, and it was just like, whew.
That's funny.
That's kind of awesome.
I actually wanted to try it again.
I was like, oh, hello. What they did do is the new stuff is instanced. So if you enter a bar, that's new to the game. It's just your instance. Nobody else can enter the bar. It's like a private. I don't want to say private server because they have the private servers, but that's essentially what it is. So like your story can continue on with your choices. Nobody can interfere.
No one can show up and just grief you in the bar.
Right.
Which is nice.
Smart. That's smart, actually, yeah.
I will say now I see a major complaint is there's no zoning. So Matt can...
Zoning.
Well, I'm going to explain. So Matt Phelps can understand this. World of Warcraft, you enter a new expansion. You go to the final zone in that expansion at the lower end of the cap, you get your ass kicked, right? Because it's set like Burning Crusade. If you went to Shadowmoon Valley, they're level 70. You're not living.
Because you were 60 when you entered, right?
Yeah.
Burning Crusade, yeah. So 10 levels higher.
Fallout 76, I think it's a 20-person server cap. Could be 40. Say you play at 3 a.m, nobody's online. You go to a zone, it kind of scales with you. But you go at a peak time, and I'm level 100. If some level 20 stumbles in there, the enemies are scaled to me, not them. So it's not the starter zone. It's the starter zone. It caps at a certain point. Like it's level 10 or 20. Like you can't go beyond that. But there's other spots you have to go for the story. And if people are already there, the cap's through the roof. So I understand a lot of new people are having an issue with that.
Yeah, one of the priests that I play World of Warcraft with, he plays Fallout 76, and he basically described it as an abusive relationship. It's like I really,
Wait. Hang on.
Yeah, the priest.
I want to examine this sentence real quick.
The priest.
One of the priests.
Yes.
You play World of Warcraft.
Not an actual priest, it's a
No.
character.
Yeah, he's not a member.
That's not the fun part, Moose.
But
Spoil it.
I did not know you were a religious man. A lot of death metal concerts.
But yeah, no, I'm having fun. Played a little. But then I decided to make the push for Platinum 100. So I did Platinum 92, 3, 4, and 5 this week.
Sweet. What'd you platinum?
So I started with Twin Breaker. I had beaten it. So I was like, let me just see if I could do the Platinum. Got the Platinum on Vita. I'm like, that's not that bad. So turned the PS4 one on, got the double stack.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Finally finished Devious Dungeon 2 and Terminator Resistance. I finished that up.
Nice. I know you hated the Devious Dungeon 2 platinum.
Yes. I don't know why it seemed to take so much longer than the first game. It's a Ratalaika game. It should have been done.
Should have been easy.
You know your lane, Ratalaika. Come on.
Yeah.
Terminator was fun. It took a weird turn at the end. I mentioned previously it's like almost like a quasi Telltale game where your actions and then you get, oh, so-and-so appreciated this. So-and-so appreciated this.
John Connor will remember this.
So at some point, my commanding officers said, oh, now I trust you. Then it took a romantic turn. I was like, wait a minute, what's happening? Oh, they're going there. Yep, they went there. I was like, huh, I didn't expect that to happen.
Sounds like the Moonlighter ending all over again, except bad.
Yeah. But that was an easy platinum. It's done. So 5 left for 100.
Cool.
Nice.
And last but not least, I played more Strange Brigade. This time co-op with
me.
that guy.
And we tried with Jeff, but he wouldn't work for some reason. I don't know why.
It's a good game.
It's because he doesn't turn on his PS4 enough.
Well, no, he was on. He was playing Assassin's Creed. He's like, "Oh, I'll play with you guys." And then every time he started the game up, he's like, "Yeah, it's just going to a black screen."
Oof.
And he tried several different fixes.
And he's played it before because me, Jason, and Jeff have played. So that's weird.
So, Jason, start. Talk
Strange
about
Brigade's a good game. It's really good. It's definitely more enjoyable in co-op. We discovered a ton of DLC.
Yeah. Yeah. For
It's
free,
one of those
too.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
it was one of those situations where PlayStation didn't decide to download it.
Okay.
And then it was like, oh, look, there's DLC we have access to.
yeah, because we bought the deluxe edition,
Mhm.
and it was just like, oh, I'll just check out what's there. Like maybe there's some stuff, and then Jason's like, there's like 6 new characters, and I was
And
like,
a
wait a
bunch of new
second.
weapons.
I was like, I didn't know that. I'm gonna go download it because I was like, we'll play the adventures when we get through the initial game, and then move to the next chapters. I didn't know there was actual people. So, but anyways.
For those who
Yeah.
don't know, Strange Brigade is basically a arcadey type Uncharted, but with a
Not a
narrator.
cover shooter.
Not a cover shooter, but the narrator straight out of like Saturday morning 90s movies.
Yeah. Like I was trying to explain the motif to this to my buddy Ahmed today. Well, and I'm like, so think pulpy adventure novels from like 1950 to like 1970, but that were focused on like the 1930s and like archaeologists. It's kind of like an Indiana Jones thing, but not.
It's like a radio play.
Yeah, it's like
That's what it sounds like.
it's. I mean, I know what I think it is. I don't have the language to actually say it because I can't think of anything else.
Like every time you start a mission, the narrator's like, "What's next for the
the Strange Brigade?" I mean,
Like
this
he emphasizes it every time.
like if like the Bastion narrator is super serious and amazing. This is super not serious and amazing. Like this game is good.
Like campy and amazing.
Yeah, campy and amazing.
Yeah.
Way better. This game is fun. I feel like as a third-person shooter that's not really cover-based, when Jason and I are playing it, and I'm pretty sure if anybody on the cast were to play it with us, I would get like the Remnant from the Ashes vibes without the weapon variety, but absolutely the same amount of fun. I like the fact that you don't have to be a pro at third-person shooters or shooters of any kind. I like the amount of give that there is between the difficulty and dying. And we figured out some of the death mechanics last night, and those are good. If you're in co-op and one of you dies, you show up in a sarcophagus and all the other person does is knock on it and you come walking out.
Nice.
Like it is like the dumbest thing, but fucking great. Now, the missed opportunity here is I feel like the person who's still alive should hear the dead character yelling.
Because there's a prompt when you're dead to shout to your like, help, get me out of here, help.
So my character's going, hello, need some assistance. And what was yours saying, Jason?
Oh, you just kept shouting like, I don't want to die in here. I don't want to die.
And then the narrator's like, how did you get stuck in there?
It's quite enjoyable.
This game came out initially in 2018?
Mm-hmm. It's done by Rebellion, so if you're
yes.
familiar with Sniper Elite and Zombie Army
Trilogy,
Army.
And it could not be further from the self-seriousness that is Sniper Elite.
Right.
This game is dope on a rope and it's fun. Y'all should play it. Anything else, Jason?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, to keep it short, I'm going back to last month's game, Moonlighter, and trying for the platinum. Game's still good. I got my 146 platinum in Super Blood Hockey. I had fun with it. I don't know.
Cheers.
I don't know how many other people here would. I'm really into arcade sports, so that stuff scratches an itch for me. And then I am well on my way to the Dark Souls 2 Platinum on PS4, and every time I get a little bit closer to really, really liking that game and wanted to argue for it as one of the better Souls games, it shows its whole ass and reveals itself to be like, man, this is fucking dumb the way that some things are handled. But that would take too long for me to go into here, and we have better things to talk about. I've also still been trying at my 100% for Nioh. I have 3 trophies left, and I'm just waiting for
Michaela.
I am waiting for a Twilight mission called the Crimson Fortress to show up.
What else you got? What are the other 2?
I need to finish all the dojo stuff on Way of the Demon. And
that's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. I just have to quote unquote get good at it, and then I have to get a Yada mirror so I can equip it.
Yep.
And
I think you can farm that in one of the bathhouse submissions.
So Matt's playing with priests. You're telling me to go to a bathhouse. What's happening to this show?
I left it alone. I wasn't.
But yeah. Nioh is still really good. It's still a fun game. But that leads me to Nioh 2 because I am starting to get the itch for that. And I know, Michaela, you reviewed it at obelisk.co.
Yes, I did.
And I'd like to know your thoughts.
I have many thoughts.
Okay.
Nioh 2 is a very, very good game. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gone for the platinum. and it's a lot of content. It is.
Well, hold on. I need to stop you.
Go ahead.
Going for the platinum and good game are not synonymous because
They are for me.
a couple of us have some shitty platinums.
I don't. I only have like 14.
He picks the good games to go after.
If I don't like it, I don't finish it. Yeah, the platinum.
I mean, I'll defend the Ratalaika games as sound games. I mean,
I was talking. My name is Mayo and Sound Shapes.
I mean, my name is Mayo. My name is Sound Shapes is a good game. You stop, sir.
Shapes Gates.
Yeah, settle down
What was
there.
it, 2016 and
Settle down there.
2019?
One word by Paugi.
Just because you can't read doesn't mean it's a bad game.
I mean, why you gotta do that, Jason? Come on.
Oh, boy.
Anyway, so you got the platinum
Continue.
yet, or no?
Yes, I got the platinum in Nioh 2.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
My goal was to get it done before FF7, and I met that goal and had a few days to spare.
Yay.
Yes, so I actually dipped into the Banner Saga for a little bit. Had a little trouble getting into that one, but I will revisit later.
Jeez, that's.
Was that the first one in the series, or you? Okay, so that's the very first one. Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
I had to try it. But okay, Nioh 2. The story took me by surprise in Nioh 2 because Nioh 1, the story was not the attraction for me for the game. It's the gameplay because to date is the most complex, deep, and customizable combat system I think I've ever played. I mean, at least half the people here have played Nioh, so you know what I'm talking about.
That's exactly what I said when I called it one of my 10 favorite games of the year. There's no combat system deeper.
No, because every weapon has a different move set for every stance, and then you have the skill trees that add unique moves for all of that, and they all have different parries and different charge attacks and all this stuff. And then you've also got ninjutsu and omio, which I neglect very much because I just like to melee my way through things.
I mean, Omio carried through Nioh 1.
Yeah, I mean,
that Two Kings Nioh mission, Guardian Talisman with Taibawashi.
Forget that mission.
Just those two assholes fall down every time, and it's so good.
Yes.
Death blow. It's great.
Yeah, when I was first learning Nioh, I've used a lot of like the sloth talisman and whatnot to slow enemies down. Now I pretty much just use the elemental papers to add like fire, water, whatever to your weapons. But I tend to go for like that like DPS, high speed, super light build with like dual wielding weapons like Tonfa or dual swords.
Glass cannon.
Yes.
Michaela, do you play the Souls games?
I played DS3. I did challenge runs for Dark Souls 3 back when I was a Twitch streamer, but I did not like Dark Souls 1, and so there I stopped.
Okay. Because honestly, like, I made one of my best friends playing the Souls games. Ahmed, I've mentioned him a bunch. You sound exactly like him, the way he talks about the way he plays Souls games. So I was just curious.
Yeah, I'm always like that person with like dual swords, no armor, go.
Oh yeah, no. He goes through New Game Plus 7 like basically naked.
Yep.
And if he gets low on health, he'll just cast a bunch of spells that kill you. It's crazy.
Yeah, my fourth playthrough of Dark Souls 3 was a naked run. I did a full naked run where it was like no armor, no embers, SL1, new game, all bosses. Because why not?
Yeah, that's insanity.
Everybody does it eventually. Everybody does it. I did my SL1 on Dark Souls 1, and I'm never doing it again.
Yeah. No.
I did that through New Game Plus, and I was like, I can have fun again. I promise.
Naked runs are a little bit harder in Nioh because so much is tied into your equipment.
Yeah.
Because the builds are insane. And one of my favorite things about Nioh 2 is when you beat the game, when you beat Nioh 2, you unlock the ability to save builds, which is great. Because in Nioh 1, that was one of the big things. Like, you could save armor sets, but when you respec your character, you couldn't save builds. And now they added that. So it's just...
Nice.
Nioh 2 is very much a, like, we know what our community likes. We've listened to our community. Here's a love letter to our community and everything that it represents. So that Nioh 2 is amazing. And the way I approached the review for that was I basically did like the cut and dry, like technical, here's what's changed, here's what's like, here's where there's like some technical UX issues, whatever, when I reviewed kind of like the alpha and the beta. So I didn't want to do that when I reviewed the full game because it was already on our network. We'd already tweeted that article a bunch. So I did two things with Nioh 2. I did a 15 like beginners tips survival guide thing, and I did the review where it was just like a very personal narrative about like the emotional stages of what it's like to play this game. And it was such a great ride all the way through. And like I said earlier, the story actually took me by surprise because when I played the first game, it was all about the combat, and the combat is the same but better in Nioh 2. Like you can feel the slight tweaks they made to like key, so it's all a little bit more balanced and you can do a little bit more. And like when they added like the burst counters and stuff like that, the new mechanics that make the combat, as ridiculous as it seems, even deeper. There's just so much you can do, and there's so many different ways to approach the game. And then the story, if you played the first game, there's so many characters and references. You're like, oh my god, I know them. Oh my god, I know what happens to them, and it's horrible because it's a prequel. But it's also a prequel sequel because when you get to the epilogue, it takes place after the first Nioh. So while like 90%, this is actually something I think I said about FF7 as well. 90% of the game is accessible to newcomers, but there's always that 10% that you'll only understand if you play the original. So like it was a surprisingly personal narrative too because of the self-made character, which, oh my god, that character creator, I have spent at least between the betas and this game, the full game, at least 10 hours making characters because it's insane. It's so good.
Nice.
Something that I really liked is that when you're building your character, your dead parents are like talking about what they thought their child would look like to grow up. So if you change, like if you move to another setting.
Whoa. What?
Yeah. So like if you like go to change your like your hairstyle, you'll hear like the echoes of your mother and father talking about, oh, like they're or they have my eyes or whatever like that. It was a really cool way to make that part of the narrative rather than like this separate thing like character creators often are.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's basically my summary of the review. That's cool.
Reading your review, and I like the tack that you took with it because you said like, yo, I've already done all this technical stuff before. Go look at it here. This is what it feels like to play this game. More often than not, like that's kind of what I want. I read a few critics that do that well. And yours was front to back like that. So you basically gave Matt like 100% what he wants out of a review. Good. rather than like, because all of the gameplay graphics, everything, depending on what you're playing on, it's all subjective, and there's a ton of different variables that go into it. Like we were talking about Fallout games, and everyone talks about how they're super, super buggy, but not everyone experiences every bug, so it's not always the same. But hearing you talk about that character creator, and I don't remember if that detail was in your review.
I think I mentioned it briefly.
Okay, and I it's been a while since I've read it, so I could.
It's been over a month since it came out, actually. So.
Yeah, I know it's been forever, but like it was. I think you were about to review it when you were last on, and now that you have, we're going to talk about it. But that's a super interesting character creation because I remember Fallout 4 is like it's when the couple looks in the mirror and you decide who you're playing as, or I mean Dark Souls. Speaking of Dark Souls 2, like it does one so it's like the old lady going, well, let me look at you, and you just create your face. That's a weird dark tactic character creation. We haven't even started the game yet, everyone. It's interesting. So anyway, continue. I'm sorry for derailing.
Yeah, no worries. I don't know. Nioh 2. So like the new weapons are great. I want to get better with the Switchblade, but it lends itself to a magic build, so I'd have to be friendly with Omio to get into that. The level design is really, really good. A lot of people were like wary of like the Dark Realms, which is kind of like an expanded yokai realm, which covered as an entire area. But once you kill the thing that's causing it, it goes away, and anything that was in there won't respawn, even if you touch a shrine. It's just everything's about it super rewarding. It's all super rewarding. The boss designs are mostly great. There's a lot of like changes in the skill tree. First of all, the skill tree looks sexy. They made the skill tree, it went from like this like static like line of like paper trees to like this really beautiful. It's not as sexy as the weapon upgrade system in FF7, but it's up there.
I mean, what is? I've never played Final Fantasy VII, so I'm just guessing.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's not a sexy upgrade, pay attention to it anyways. It's got to be beautiful. But the one thing that I found was weird, like they added a lot of things and retained a lot of things from the, like they basically didn't delete stuff from the base original game, and then they just added on top of that. But one thing they did do was they replaced earth and wind with basically like light and dark or purify and curse, which was strange, but okay, I'll roll with it. I thought they would have like 7 elements instead of bringing it back down to 5. But I don't know, the mission design was really, really good. There was a couple missions like that paid such great homage to the first game where you like recognize the area you're in, but it's like 50 years beforehand, so certain things are different. Like shit that was on fire is now not on fire and vice versa.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I mean because I could think of like 10 missions already where like stuff is on fire. And like it's on fire to the point where like, man, why didn't they just put a wall here instead of just something being on fire?
Yeah.
Because it seemed pretty arbitrary in Nioh 1.
I think the most important callback is that the poop guy makes a return.
Oh, dung ball? The guy with the dung ball roller trophy or whatever?
Yes, there's another
Awesome.
dung ball roller trophy. That's all that matters in my life.
I mean, you know. Dung ball, Kodama, and Hot Springs. That's all you need, and you got a Nioh game.
Kodamas are my favorite trophy to get. But dude, they also, oh my god.
I found a pocket t-shirt with a Kodama head on it.
The Kodamas are still my favorite, but they also added like Nekos. They added cats. They're just like fat brown cats that follow you and roll around, and then they'll roll into enemies and hit them. And when you enter a dark realm, they turn into like pufferfish cats. It's great. They make my life.
Speaking of cats, real quick aside, when me and Matt are playing Strange Brigade, the narrator hates cats.
Oh, yes.
And there's there's cat collectibles in game. You're supposed to shoot them. So like he basically taunts inanimate statues, saying like, "Take that, cat."
Dude, that just reminded me.
There's no negotiating with a cat.
When I said the only thing I did this weekend was play video games, I left out one thing. I had a stare off with a cat. So I live in a basement level apartment, so all of my windows are like those, like they're like this tall.
They're all way too high and they're tiny.
And they only open a little bit. So there's this black cat that lives in the apartment like right above me. Mm-hmm. And I've only ever seen it when I take the trash out, and it's sitting in the window and it hisses at me. I don't know why. This cat just hates me. I've never done anything to it. I'm just taking the trash out and it hisses at me. It like arches its back. Standing in my kitchen on like Sunday, I was making a cup of tea, and this mother fluffer walks up to my like window.
Mother
fluffer and stares at me. And it just stares at me, and it's like arches back. It's like hair is standing up on it, and I'm like, you come up into my basement apartment and you're gonna hiss at me.
Right? Exactly.
How dare you be on these streets acting ratchet, stupid cat?
I had a staring contest with this cat for a solid 2 minutes.
Did you win?
Yes, I did, because eventually it left.
Nice.
So before we move on from Nioh 2, and then we can bring Justin in, I have some questions.
Go ahead.
Repeatedly annoying repeated boss fights. So like, is there like an Onryoki situation, a noise situation in Nioh 2?
Yes, but so you know how Onryoki becomes like just another enemy by the time you're in like the Gashadokuro, like the big skeleton level?
It's annoying, yeah.
Yes. I'm not gonna say Onryoki is not in Nioh 2, but
I mean, I assumed he was. I'm not even joking. I'm like,
I'll give you know what, I'll give you this. Hino Enma is not in Nioh 2. There is no Hino Enma, the vampire paralysis lady.
the third. Oh, good. Fuck that.
Oh, the
not
third boss?
No.
Nice.
But the first boss and I said this in my review. The second enemy you encounter in the game is a mini boss, and it's like this big horse demon with a sword. And the boss in that level is also a big horse demon with a sword. I think they're like brothers. They're Mizuki and Gozuki. They reappear multiple times in the game, including once together. Well, twice together. Once in a submission, but once in a very small room, which they take up like half of. And during that segment, my roommate just heard a lot of yelling. That sums that up.
Sounds like me in the Two Kings Nioh fight. So is there like the dojo progression as well?
Yes, there is. The dojo is back. There's like you have to like get to certain levels of proficiency to unlock subsequent missions that let you unlock more of the skill tree. To be quite honest, the last 2 trophies I had for the platinum was grinding out all of the proficiency points for Onmyo.
That was mine too.
Yeah, it just takes forever.
Yeah. And then there was one other thing. Are there like dual boss submissions as well?
I didn't get past New Game Plus yet, and when I did New Game Plus, I was just manning the story. There was nothing quite like that Nioh 2 boss fight thing with like who is it, Tachibana and Honda?
Yeah, there's Tachibana and Honda, and then Oda Nobunaga and his wife.
Yes, Yukiona. She becomes Yukiona. I have not yet. I don't know about submissions. Like some of the submissions I think were particular to like some of the like later New Game Pluses. I don't remember exactly. But there was definitely nothing like that in any mission, submission or otherwise, in New Game. There were, like I said, like Mizuki and Gozuki were put together at some point. So there's sometimes you do have, but it's nothing quite like that, like Nioh 2, like or the 2 Nioh, you know what I mean? Like the 2 Guardian Nioh or the Yukiona and Nobunaga fight.
And then my last question, or second to last question, is the boss design as consistently good?
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I thoroughly enjoyed most of the boss fights. They're not, like some of Nioh boss fights are kind of, I won't say throwaway, but there's some that I really don't like. Namely anything to do with a centipede.
The centipede.
The centipede in Nioh 1 sucks.
Fuck that. Yeah, no, I agree. I'm just,
There is one boss that makes the same mistake as the centipede.
There's a centipede one in the DLC too.
Yes, there is. And also I have a centipede problem in my apartment, so I am racist against centipedes.
All right.
But
Justin's like, what am I doing here?
What's this podcast about?
No, yeah, I hate
racism against centipedes.
Oh my god. If you lived in a basement level apartment where you regularly encounter centipedes in the warmer weather, so like from right about now through October, November, every night I open the doors and I like look at the floor before I like step out and you turn all the lights on because they're there. They're everywhere and they're gross. They're basically race car spiders. I don't like them.
Race car spiders. That's a good one.
A priest, a centipede, walk into a bar.
They're very hard to kill because they'll also have baseboard radiators, so they shoot right into the radiator. I hate centipedes. They can all die. And centipede bosses. I don't know what it is with Japanese games. They always have centipede bosses. There's always centipedes in Japanese. Centipedes and spiders everywhere. It's like they took everything I hate about my apartment and put it in the game.
At least they made the mechanics good, so you'll get a platinum.
Yes. There was one boss that was too big for the camera, like the centipede boss in Nioh. There's one boss that's like too big for the camera to handle.
It's like that Orochi boss fight.
Yeah.
Towards the end of Nioh 1.
Yeah, I mean the centipede was just like, because its body was so huge, you couldn't like. There was this thing where it's kind of, how would I describe this? A spider bull with wings.
Okay.
All right.
That checks out.
I'm not
A lot
going
of
to
things
sleep.
are having sex in Nioh too.
I'm not going to sleep tonight.
And it's very large. It is very large. It is
Centipede.
in charge, and it destroys the camera.
The final boss in the final level boss before that before you go back to England in Nioh 1 is unwieldy as a motherfucker because you have to deal with not one, not two, not three, like 7 heads of a dragon.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I pointed this out in my review as well. At some point, I think I mentioned it. Some of the late game bosses. So I think I put something like Gashido Kuro is not in Nioh 2, but a boss like Gashido Kuro is. So he was like the big skeleton who was like huge, and he hit his feet to knock him down, type of thing.
Yeah, but he was literally a pushover. Like I'm talking about the one before you go back.
I know what you're talking about. There's also a boss that imitates the design of that 7-headed.
Okay. Yeah, because they'll have 7 heads, and then they decide to fuse into 3 heads, and it's like impossible to lock on. It's impossible to tell where everything is coming from. So it feels like RNG can be for you or against you in that particular fight. I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm going to go to my last question real quick. Or did you need to say one more thing?
No, go ahead.
Is there a Marubashi fight?
That was like I feel like Marubashi was like New Game plus and onward, and I'm not there yet in the submission. So to my knowledge, no, not yet. Because you're talking about the one where there's like 4 masters of different weapons that come.
Yeah, it's every person that has trained you, and they come at you one at a time, and there's like 200 of them. It seems like
it might be a submission in one of the New Game Plus says, but I didn't. I only needed to play through New Game Plus and a half to platinum, so I didn't. And then I switched gears. And I haven't been back yet, although I want to work on like builds because you can save multiple builds, and I want to do like dual swords and Odachi and like Tonfa and Switchglaive and like build out my armor and get all that correct stuff. But yeah, no, I don't know if there will be something like that. I do know that there's going to be DLC. And
which
of
is
course, they did acknowledge that they made the DLC like too hard in the first game, so they want to scale it better. They've done a lot to scale things better, and I won't say Nioh 2 is easier, but I will say while it still has that steep learning curve because there's so many mechanics to learn, so if you didn't play Nioh, you're gonna feel lost with all the different things because
it's a dog pile of systems. It's it is a rugby scrum of systems.
But the general introduction is more gradual in terms of like the difficulty curve in the enemies that you face.
Okay. So it's more fair.
Yes. I mean, I wouldn't say Nioh is unfair, but it is more accessible to newcomers.
Okay. So I think we've exhausted that horse.
I have one question.
Okay.
My new thing is when I beat a game, I like to look up the speed run to compare, like to see how bad. The Nioh 2 speed run is currently 2 hours and 32 minutes. How do you feel about that?
I mean, because the way Nioh is, instead of like, so it's called the Souls like a lot, but there's a lot more to it. Instead of Dark Souls, where you have to like run through certain, like, I love watching Dark Souls speedruns because they very carefully map, or Bloodborne speedruns where they map and can jump through the environments. Nioh is mission based, so you only have to complete the main missions to progress, and you can very easily like sprint through a lot of the environments to get to where the boss is. A lot of times there's some where you can't. There was one level where like basically the boss is throwing lightning balls at you for half of the level, and it's very annoying until you get up to him. But I'm not surprised by that. The speedrunning community, my experience, because when I was a Twitch streamer, my community was mostly like built up by the fact that I was playing Nioh at a higher level. The speedruns weren't like a huge thing. It was all about like really insane builds, is what that community really, really gets into. And then PvP was a joke. Like most people don't even know Nioh has PvP. nobody did.
It's not great.
Well, they added it late, didn't they? Like that was like even almost after DLC, wasn't it?
I don't know if it was after the DLC, but it was basically pointless.
Yeah,
Right.
it was
They added that late. That
Yeah.
wasn't out when the game initially came out.
Like,
so.
as someone who doesn't know how to do game development right, I can definitely say that's one of the places I feel comfortable saying Nioh got that wrong.
Yeah, it didn't need the PvP.
It didn't.
It's got a great, actually, I will say this, Nioh 2's co-op mechanics are great because it offers even more ways to co-op with people or to get assistance. Like I said, it's got a more gradual learning curve. Like, you've still got the Torii Gate, and you can still summon people at shrines, but you can also get AI partners everywhere because instead of just like those red revenant graves, they have the blue ones, which are like benevolent graves, where you can summon a helpful AI
Which
that's
is
not going to kill you.
brilliant.
And
Yeah.
now that they've increased it from 1 co-op assistant to
Yeah.
2, correct? So it's
Yeah.
like Bloodborne, it's like 3. You
Yeah,
can have
originally,
3
so that's how
people in
many
a
you
game.
could have in the Abyss in the previous game.
Yeah.
Right,
But in
yeah,
the
yeah.
regular missions. Yeah.
Right,
you
yeah,
use
those
3.
were different missions. Those were like a different type or
Yeah,
whatever.
and they've said that they're going to make an Abyss-like piece of content for the DLC as well.
They need to
cool.
streamline that because it wasn't great.
Well, you didn't want to do 999 floors?
No, I don't. I did the 20 for the trophy, and frankly, I think they would. I think they could have made the progression in that a little bit better.
Yeah,
It was
it's
19
long.
levels too far.
No, it really well I mean, I got through, I mean, I was able, whenever I tried the Abyss, I was able to get through 10 kind of with my eyes closed.
Yeah.
The difficulty spike got really real at 11, but ultimately it kind of depended on the boss you were facing and the debuffs you were being forced to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there's actually some merit to the Abyss design because you could when you load in, there are 4 boats or 3, I forget. I think it's 3. And you're given a list of 3 debuffs that will happen if you just go to the boss. If you want to get rid of one, you take the boat that corresponds to it, go through that level, find the little red Kodama, and bounce. And speaking of speed runs, like, I'm pretty sure my Way of the Demon speed run through the main story was probably 5 hours, considering it took me like 15 to 20 to complete it the first time around. And that's just because I used Omeo magic, and there's like invisible scrolls and catwalking scrolls that make you silent. And there's a quick substitution scroll that if you die, you just drop right back to where you died and you can continue the fight.
All that's back.
Yeah, I
all
mean,
back.
yeah, like there
Nice.
are ways around it, which is cool. You just have to take the time to find it because it's buried. So I think we can end the Nioh 2 discussion there. I want to bring Justin in because Justin, Michaela, and Moose have all played a tiny little indie game that has been remade this week.
So I wanted to, when you discuss your game, I want you to kick it off with like where your fandom started, like how you came to love the game, like what your expectations were for what you're playing now.
And why you don't think Final Fantasy VI is the best.
Yeah, because Jason's going to hate you no matter what.
And admit that you're wrong.
But anyways, I just want the listeners to know like your background with the story, because I know the reason you're both on here is because the game came out. I'm a huge fan of it from a certain perspective. Michaela, I know you are a huge fan, and Justin, you and I have talked about it a lot, especially while you've been playing the PC port coming to the PS4, working trying to get that platinum. So, just give the listeners a little bit of a background on that. So, sorry, Matt, go ahead.
No problem. So in accordance to the terms set forth by our Moose in Chief, Justin.
Yes.
Why do you like Final Fantasy VII?
Jason, you'll like this because it's not Rainbow Six Siege. not Rainbow Six Siege. So for I joke around with Jason and everyone here, but I played a lot of Super Rainbow Six Siege.
You should have a
But
platinum
No.
by now.
I know I should. I really should. I love Six. I really do love Final Fantasy Six. I played it at a friend's house. I think what people forget about Six is that's a two-player game. You can play that two players. So that
No
was a really
shit.
yeah. You can
I never knew that.
Six.
Cool.
Yes, it's a two-player game, so two people
Huh.
can take control of the four-character party.
So Justin just proved none of us have friends except him.
Yeah. So I played it at a friend's house, and I did enjoy it. I did. I loved it a lot. But Seven was the first RPG I ever bought for my PlayStation. Bought the memory card for it. Bought a. Before then, you had to get passwords for code for games that saved. But yeah, so I bought my memory card, first RPG, and yeah, it was just like, wow, this looks amazing. And of course, I had a PlayStation, but my friend bought the game. He brought it over. We played it at my place. I didn't have my copy till Christmas. I grew up poor. It has a significance because it was like one of those games like, this is going to take me a long time to play, and it led me down the road of playing all those great JRPGs from the PlayStation 1 era. So I have a very good fondness for it. And the remake, it just hits all those notes like of nostalgia, and it's like bringing you back, and it feels. I know you guys said, Michaela, you're probably gonna say this as well. It feels fresh, but familiar.
Mhm.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, the changes they've made are smart. We waited 5 years for this game, and the worst part is this is just part one.
No, you waited 20 some years for this game.
Yeah,
Let's
well,
be
yeah.
real.
Waited since 1998 for this game.
Right, yeah.
When are they gonna remake it?
Okay. So before we really get into the meat of it, well, Moose, what about you?
Yeah,
What's your deal with Final Fantasy VII, son?
So I come from the fandom of it was one of the two reasons that I bought a PlayStation. The first reason was Star Ocean, Second Story, and then so my friends were playing that during the summer after us graduating. They were playing that, and then they were playing Final Fantasy VII, and I was just like, man, like these games are freaking awesome. Like they're really, they look good. They got some cool story, and so bought my PlayStation, and then that next summer played. I went back. This was the summer after graduation. I moved to North Carolina, so I went back up, stayed with my grandmother, got a summer job, and just like played Final Fantasy VII like a lot of it. And so I have a nostalgia for it. Like when they announced, I think it was at a PSX, they announced that the PC port was coming. Like I was on the PSN store, like ready to buy it. Like I'm looking, like let's go. Like I want to play this again. And like when you hear the sounds, it's just it's like a trip. It's like a drug. Like you're just tripping, and it's like a huge flashback, to that time in my life. And so I would like when they announced that they were doing the remake in, what was that, 2015?
Yeah,
Like
2015.
I was like, okay, this is awesome. Like I'll play it. I was not one of the fans who was like, where's our remake? Where's our remake? Because there were a lot of people out there who were like such big fans of it that they were
signing
like,
petitions.
right, signing petitions. I want a remake. I want a remake. I want a remake. I was just like, I love the game. I enjoy it. If they do it, they do it. And then they announced they were doing it, and I'm like, oh, like this is gonna be awesome. And then I was hesitant to pre-order it. And then like I was seeing like the last couple trailers and was just like, boom, I had to pick it up. So yeah, it's good.
Wait, so I think I know the answer to the first question. Was it your first Final Fantasy? And then the second question, is it your only Final Fantasy?
Yes, first Final
There is
Fantasy.
only one Final Fantasy.
According to whom?
First Final Fantasy, yes. Last Final Fantasy, no. My last Final Fantasy, I tried. The last one I completed was 10. And then I skipped like 10 to skipped 11 because it was an MMO. 12 I played some of, but never beat it. 13 never played any of that stuff. And then I played a bunch of the MMO, the 14, Realm Reborn, and loved that. So yeah, but it's the one I have the most like fondness for. Like I love Final Fantasy 7, and I to be honest, I'd probably love 6 if I ever played it, or if it was like on my Switch,
Or if they ever
Nintendo.
put it in the Octopath engine.
Yeah, put
Oh,
it.
there you go.
Well, I mean, like Jason and I were talking about it. He's like, well, they lost the code, so they can't like.
I mean,
So
it's got the shitty OS and PC code
yeah,
somewhere.
right. But it's like
Those
we
are
deserve
bad,
better
though.
than we deserve better than
And
that.
I
It's
own
just,
those.
like,
I have it on the phone and
Oh, I have
PC.
it on my phone.
so I feel like you were saying, put it in the Octopath Traveler engine and just that would just be amazing, and I would play the hell out of that. So, but
That would be sexy.
Okay, so before we keep going with this, Phillips, do you have any attachment to Final Fantasy VII or Final Fantasy at large?
Final Fantasy VII, yeah. That was the first game. I mean, I've been playing games a long time, but that was the first game where I would get on the subway to go to school. I was in high school at the time, and you see a big ad for a mainstream game, like right on the subway as you would for a movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because at the time I was just PC gamer, and
Elitist. Okay.
that's the kind of game that got me to get a console, because this is something at the time I couldn't get on PC, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I really liked Final Fantasy VII. It's the only one I've played. Final Fantasy VII is kind of like the Fallout 3 for a lot of people, right? It's like it's
Okay.
late in the series, but it's the first one that a lot of people jumped on with. So for me, like, yeah, I love it, but I don't pretend to be a huge Final Fantasy guy. Jason did convince me to buy the Final Fantasy 6 port that he just said was terrible, but I haven't started that yet.
Bought it.
Hey, this is terrible. Buy it.
So Jason, you've established that 6 is your favorite.
Yes.
And
I play it once a year.
Oh.
Okay.
On my Vita. Got to keep that going.
Oh yeah. I mean, I still play Spelunky on my Vita, so we all have our problems. So do you what?
Or do we have problems?
I mean, the way I see it, the Switch is just doing what the Vita did. But what's your thoughts on 7? Like, I know you're not going to sit here and say it's the worst one because 6 is the best, but
I beat it in 97 or 8 whenever it came out. I remember switching the disc on the PS1. I own the port, but I haven't played it. I don't know why I own it. Why do I own most of my games?
Because they're there.
No, I don't. I like 7. I did like.
Okay.
I have no issues with it. But I'm more of. I think a big reason I like 6. That art style, like which you see in Octopath, I prefer that over. Also, and every Final Fantasy 7 fan would tell you the original 7, looking back now, looks awful.
Oh yeah, it does. No, it does.
It does. Yeah.
Yes.
Like, so it's not like it aged well. Like, oh my god, this game's amazing. Like, you just look at it, you're like, oh.
Yeah. I mean, it's cursed by the era it came from.
Right. But I did beat it. I'm curious. I would like to revisit when I know what the complete game will be, because I'm not like, I don't. When it was announced, it wasn't. When it was announced to me, it was more like, where's 6 remake?
Yeah.
Like every time they like, where's 6? Damn it. So I am curious when they announce the full game, the next part, or the next, or how many parts there will be in total. Maybe I'll try it, but
You'll be waiting a few years.
So
Yeah,
I'm gonna
God, it'll be a while.
I'm gonna ask a weird. Okay, so I'll at least disclose here. I have the least amount of experience with Final Fantasy here. I played the original one. I believe it was on Nintendo.
It was on Nintendo.
It was.
I actually played it again on iPad. and then I'm pretty sure I played 2 and 3 on iPad, OG 2 and 3, like actual 2 and 3. And I did play Super NES 3. And that's all the Final Fantasy I've played.
Those are the important ones.
Well, that's what everyone's. But like, to be honest, I was in a weird point in gaming because I didn't play them as they were released. I was going back. I had 3 console generations that I could kind of skip around from. The first real JRPG series that I got into Tales. Tales
It's a
of
good series.
Yeah, and I think if I had gotten into Final Fantasy first, I'd probably be right there with y'all saying 7's so good. But because I got into Tales first, like that's where I'm at. But like I played 1. And I was like, yeah, okay, I get it. But see, to me at the time, it seemed like Dragon Warrior, but with 4 people rather than just 1. And then 6, instead of calling them fighter, red mage, black mage, white mage, it was whatever those characters are named, because I honestly do not remember. And I can't really say I'm like anti Final Fantasy. I'm just the name does not hold an appeal for me. Like I totally understand like 7 specifically and 6 specifically are held up as like, important points in gaming history. I'm building to a question here. We run a PSA at the end of the show for Phoenix Overdrive's Extra Life team. I've heard when they still had a podcast, and I know we talk about in that promo that there's a podcast, they keep telling me they're going to bring it back, and I believe them. Ray and Lee have gone back and forth on which one is the hipster one.
Hipster one.
Is 6 the hipster one, or is 7 the hipster one?
Define hipster.
Exactly. Yeah. That's my point. I think 6 is the hipster one because more people have played 7.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I really was, because I feel like 7's more like the pop song.
Yes.
And 6 is like the deep indie rock cut.
Final Fantasy 7 is like
the Metallica Black Album.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 7 Final Fantasy 7 is Nirvana's Nevermind. Yeah. Final Fantasy 6 is like Doolittle by the Pixies.
Okay, yeah.
A by far better album, but just less people know about it.
Sure.
Now you're sitting there saying like so you're trying to say 6 is better than 7.
I'm basically showing my whole ass on this one.
I know. I'm like,
basically all I really said there is I don't really care for Nevermind all that much. But so let's go around the horn based on the hipster definition that we just sort of established. Hipster is the one who's the one who champions the lesser known one. Agreed?
Yeah,
right.
I would say 6 is.
I say 6.
Yeah.
Okay. Justin says hipster. Moose, or Justin says 6. Moose says 6. Jason.
6.
Jason says 6. Michaela.
By that definition, 6.
Okay. Phillips.
I guess 6. Oh, well,
see, Phillips. I know what you want to say. You don't really like hipsters. I'm with you, man.
No. I think 6 can be the hipster one and still be the best game in the series. I haven't played them, but
10.
I think they can still be, like for me with Fallout, like New Vegas or 2 would, I guess, be the hipster ones. Even though
definitely.
A lot of people would still say that yes, they're the best in the series.
Yes.
So I think it's possible to be both.
Right, and I was just saying which one's the hipster one.
I think 6, I guess.
Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people that say 6 is the hipster one. That's a weird numerology. I just realized that. But now let's move on. I'm kind of gonna let you guys sort of take the reins here. I don't care who goes first. It's a free for all. Everybody talk at the same time. Let's see what happens.
That would not be good.
You say that, but so
I got a question.
okay.
So, what was the biggest thing you were looking forward to when firing up the remake? And you could take your turns answering, Michaela and Justin, and then I'll
Not
go after
changing
you guys.
disc.
But probably. But
Get him, Jason.
like, what was your biggest, like, what were you looking forward to the most, and did it meet any expectations you had for it?
I'll talk about a little bit about the combat because a lot of RPGs have moved more to action based, and I was like, I don't know if I can adapt to that, to this action, more fast paced one. But for some reason, this action in this game really clicked with me, and I think you're seeing it a lot on social media and on Twitter and a lot of game reviews that they're saying that this is the better one to jump into if you're not into turn based. And I know the option for turn based is there.
Mm-hmm.
I can't speak to that entirely. I did play a little bit of that turn based classical version when they played it on the demo, and it dropped it down to easy. So I didn't see anything or feel anything, but the action picks up. If you want to talk about like shortcomings, a little bit of the shortcomings. I don't know if anyone noticed this, but when I was at PSX and they showed Final Fantasy VII running,
Mhm.
and you see Cloud moving around, and you see Cloud shimmying into like a little crevice area. That shimmying animation of him walking into a crevice area happens a lot. Like he's always walking into a small tunnel, having to crawl through. Got
Yeah.
really
Is it
annoying.
like where
fast.
God of War like hid load times
I
where
think so.
I think
I think
like
so. I
Fallen
think that's the
Order,
only thing.
Yeah.
where
Okay,
Cal would
all right.
crawl through and
That's the
different-
only reason I could think of this kept happening, and it was like the most annoying part. It's like, why is this happening? Why is he going through a tight squeeze area? Like this has to be masking something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's about it.
Now, I thought you had some hesitation before you tried the demo, and then you tried the demo. Didn't that seal the deal for you? The combat, because you spoke about the combat.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna get the demo no matter what. Like I had this pre-ordered since last year. I think I want to say last year. I had it pre-ordered. I had it pre-ordered, and then I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna get this anyways. And then I got I had the demo, and most of you saw me playing the PC port of it on PS4. I was like, oh, I'll play a little bit of this, try and get some of the trophies. Maybe I can platinum it. I don't know. I don't really platinum games, but when I
Get
played
good,
the
bro.
demo, when I played the, yeah,
Rainbow Six says hi.
yeah, I know. I can do it. I just need someone to help me with it. I need people to carry me for Rainbow. But yeah, when I played the demo, like yeah, it just started clicking right away. And as you go in deeper, you see like, oh, this is more intricate. What kind of magic you need and what enemy bases you have to fight. So it's like it's comforting knowing that there's a challenge to it, and you're really more about positioning than going in there hacking and slashing.
Right.
Okay. Michaela?
I'm glad you brought up the combat because that was one of the things that I was most anticipating, and I actually wrote an article about it and the importance of how I think hybrid combat systems that mix the turn-based with action, like having that ATB system with the wait mode or the tactical mode, whatever you want to call it, but also the active like square triangle setup with the manual attacks. Is going to be influential in not only Final Fantasy future games, but in future JRPGs. But the thing that in my heart that I was most looking forward to, like, was just the references and the characters and the personality that people were going to bring to them. Because I already love the FF7 cast. One of the things I've often said is that FF7 wasn't my number one FF, but it is number one, I think, in terms of casts that I love of characters. And they did such a good job. And there were so many moments where it's like, I feel like I'm home in this game, but it's still surprising me, kind of like what you mentioned earlier, Justin. The voice acting, they did a really good job. The writing, for the most part, some of it was a little cringe, a little campy, but I kind of loved it. Like, the stuff with Barrett, especially in the earlier chapters, is very over the top and it matches his character and it's great. But then with him and Marlene, my heart, everything to do with Marlene, and all the stuff that was familiar but new in terms of the story beats and those personalities that you love and that used to just be non-voiced polygons, but now they're real people. That was what I was most anticipating in terms of an emotional ride, and they nailed it. Like all the wall market stuff was great. Everything is great. And like the Aerith stuff, the first time I heard her swear, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Aerith just swore. Did she do that? It was all great.
What?
Aerith said shit. How dare you? Like, great.
I could just see someone putting the controller down going, what the fuck, Aerith?
I literally hit the record button immediately. It's like, Jess, look, my roommate. She swore. It was
It's
all
rated
great.
M now. It's fine.
Actually, it's only rated T somehow.
I don't know.
Which is
rated
weird.
T. I don't know. There's like some weird hand fetish stuff. I don't know.
We are.
I don't know how this game is rated T, but it is. But everything was great. Everything with the I will get to this probably later. A lot of core FF fans and a lot of the negativity you see on social media comes from like the last 30 minutes of the game, because it shows the possibility to deviate from the original story. But everything they did with the original story to pay homage to it and also to grow and expand upon it, I really, really appreciate it. And I'm actually really excited for this uncertain journey or unknown journey, I forget exactly what it's called, that we're looking forward to in part 2. Also, there's a certain character I won't name who appears in the late game, and I was literally covering my mouth screaming like a girl. I am a girl, but like screaming like a girl in my apartment, and I apologize to my neighbors.
I mean, at least you're leaning into your role, right?
Yes, I'm playing that bitch.
I just had a DNA test, turns out.
Like, girl, I can't even, but I can.
Oh, man.
So many great things with just the personalities that I knew were there that I used to have to imagine, but now I don't, because they're there and they're real and they're great.
It's funny you mentioned the voice acting, because we've actually had interpretations of Final Fantasy VII content before with Advent Children, which was a direct-to-DVD film, and we've
you're
heard
calling
their
it a
voices
film?
in...
Wow, how
It
respectful.
is a film.
It's more than 60 minutes. I count that as a film.
Not
But
a
it's
movie?
also voices we've heard. They were also in... I never got into the series, Michaela, you might have. They were all have been in Kingdom Hearts. I think all of those characters.
Oh, I've played Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
Have I played Kingdom Hearts?
I have not.
Just like that much. She's played a little bit.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize I was walking into a joke.
Yep.
She loves Kingdom Hearts. She's played a lot of it.
I love Final Fantasy more.
Okay.
Put that out there.
Okay.
Not possible.
It's interesting. We all have a mutual friend here, Jeff, who also plays a lot of RPGs, and he was playing Final Fantasy 15. And I've only gone through from 6 to 9. I tried a little bit of 10. I never finished it.
You gotta play 10.
I played 10. I didn't finish 10, but I know the story beats.
Justin only goes from 6 to 9. Why does that sound so dirty?
That sounds great. It sounds great to me.
Sounds great to me.
That's great to me.
This episode is going to be titled "A Priest, the Centipede 6'9".
Centipede 69. It's all there. This game should be rated M. This podcast should be rated M.
Exactly.
It is. I have to check off "Not for Children" when I upload it.
Please do. But this game is.
But we are for
me...
Advent Children, which is weird. I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
That's the
This game
priest.
is making me want to go back to the previous Final Fantasy games and try them again. Like go back to a JRPG, and I'm like, JRPGs just take a lot of time, so it's like I don't know if I want to do this, but I'm like, I
And
kind
yet
of
this game
want
was
to try.
criticized for being too short.
I
Yeah.
know, right?
It's only 40 hours. It's too short.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Well,
Be
that's
good,
that's
man.
the thing. Like people are expecting. They're like,
80
we
to
want the
100.
the time that we put into the. And it's
Dude,
like
I'm an
it's
adult.
part of the main remake. It's part of it. Okay, so it's 40 hours. So you think maybe if you multiply that, by 3, you're gonna have that's a lot of content to like go through,
My favorite
especially.
thing is that they've also said when the review dropped and it said 35 to 40 hours, people were like, oh, that's too short for a JRPG. And now, like, what, a week and a half later, people are like, there's too much filler. I'm like, is it too long or is it too short? Can you pick one? Twitter, you only get one.
Well, okay, I guess as the outsider here who has not played 7 in any context, I've heard plenty of folks talk about how this is like a stupid cash grab because they're making it episodic.
Yeah.
I'm not really gonna speak to that because I kind of, the way I sort of understand this remake to be happening, and this is where you can correct me, is they seem to be giving life to areas of the game where life really wasn't present. Not just like making everything look better, but I'll bet if you're in a cityscape, they probably make it look more like a bustling city rather than.
Oh yeah.
You and the other person you're walking with and having a conversation with walking down the street. Like there's
Characters
actually
to scale with the buildings.
right,
Mhm.
yeah. Things are to
Yeah.
scale with the buildings. You know, there's people chatting, you know, running around. Like it definitely makes it feel way more alive, the area
Yeah.
that you're in this beginning part.
I think episodic became a dirty word with Telltale because they'd release part 1 of 5. It's 2 hours. So it's like,
Mhm.
well, I don't want to. But then, like, I think Hitman, the first one,
Yeah.
proved that episodic isn't a bad thing because even though the first game they released the locations in pieces, but you could still get like 20, 30 hours
Yeah.
out of one city. Like they changed that for the second one, but I think when people hear episodic, they immediately thought like, oh, well, I'm only going to play part of it. Like that's what it made it. Like you say episodic, like
Yeah.
part 1 versus episodic, you think 2 different things. So I think that was the problem with when it said episodic, like, oh, great, we're going to play 10 hours and then have to wait.
Right. And then on that note, like look at like they're bringing out Wolf Among Us 2. And most likely that's going to be episodic.
Yeah.
But I know at least 2 people on this show that if IO came out and said Hitman 3 was episodic, we're like, yes,
Yeah.
you know, because it's more Hitman.
I definitely would.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I know a lot of people who are like, when I see like games like Telltale games like Wolf Among Us 2,
Mhm.
when they start releasing that, I will just wait till the last episode's out, buy it all, and play it. I feel this is different because this is a known property to me. This is a known IP. This has history with me, and I'm fine with just playing that section if it has a good ending to it and a good send off, and I can just be like, all right, well now I can put this away and wait for the next episode. You know?
No, this is unacceptable. I cannot play 40 hours. I need 200 hours all at once. This is
Well,
stupid.
Right. Like a lot of that's grinding to get your characters leveled and just.
I mean, as someone who spent most of the second year of his time at X-Ray School platinuming Persona 4 Golden on Vita, like y'all need to get good.
Yeah.
It needs to be at least 70 hours.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
come on. What are you doing, Square?
But yeah.
It's also a time thing. So like, yeah, Wolf Among Us episode, how long is that? A couple hours?
Yeah.
Episode of Final Fantasy is 40 hours. And there's also going to be probably multiple years between releases. You don't want to wait
Exactly.
till 2026 to play all 3 parts or whatever it's going to be. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
and they tell a complete story and then leave a cliffhanger that you may or may not like.
well,
but-
and that was the other thing I was going to ask with this. Like, does it seem like a natural stopping point?
Yeah. I will
Okay.
say the last time I was on here, I was right about where it ends.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's good.
Hashtag
That's
called
good. That's good to know.
About again, they changed some stuff.
That's getting creepy. That's the second time you've made a prediction in front of me and Moose, and it came true.
My name is actually Raven. I used to be on Disney Channel, but
Wait, what's happening right now? I don't.
I'm psychic.
I'm scared now.
Oh,
We asked her
to
that's
predict-
right? Mode.
We asked her to predict on Nerds Gone Platinum. What was it when it would come out?
You asked when it would come out, where it would end, and something else.
Yeah, and she got both of those like nailed them.
I actually worked for Square.
She's
Cheater.
liar, cheater.
Well, then answer me a question. Is the head of Square an actual Square?
Yes. So is
Wow.
Nomura.
Okay. You said that, not me. Sue her, Nomura. No.
Is there a platinum?
Yes.
Is there a platinum for FF7? Yes. I'm working on it. I got 8 trophies to go.
No, I'm just wondering, is it going to be like one of those, they just tack on DLC? Or
No, I think they're going to be separate installs because that would be insane. Because this one is like 85, 90 gigs. And so the next part's probably going to be just as big.
Are you familiar with Call of Duty?
No, I never heard of it, actually.
Because they do DLC in like 100 gig chunks, it seems like.
Numbers don't matter because Days Gone did that 55 gigabyte patch that decreased the file size somehow.
Which is still pretty good.
But, she has a point where it's probably just going to be its own installation. It'll be its own part, and again, it'll have its own trophies. So there's probably going to end up being 3 platinums for this.
Yeah, I'm in more along the lines of Warframe. Like it just tacks on to the trophy list.
Oh yeah.
It will be interesting to see how they deal with next generation. Like, where are the hooks? Like, how are they going to know? I guess I don't know this. I don't know computer programming, but
me either.
How are they going to grab my characters and all their leveling and all their magic and everything to make sure I have this going into part 2?
You kind of have to hope they've looked at Mass Effect and said, maybe we should do that, huh?
Yeah, they probably should figure that part out.
I
think there's going to be some idiots out there playing part 2 who didn't play part 1, and they'll be totally fine.
There will be that, and
some
they're working on backwards compatibility. So when you buy your PS5. And if the episode 2 comes out on the PS5, you'll be fine. You'll be able to download the first episode, which they still have not even called the first episode.
That's true. That is also true.
They haven't said part 1. They haven't said part A. They haven't said episode 1.
But FF is annoying. I was making a joke the other day on Twitter. Somebody's like, this just can't be a 10-2 situation with or anything like that. And I'm like,
it's going to be FF7 Remake.
The uncertain journey continues.
It's going to be FF7 Remake 2. That's exactly what it's going to be.
Yeah, FF7 R2.
Just call it part 2.
Yeah.
They'll just call it part 2.
But it'll be you'll just be able to download it, or you'll even be able to just have your save, put your save in the cloud, and download your save. And when you load up part 2, it'll be like, here's where your characters pick up, and you won't even have to worry about downloading.
I think the characters are going back. I think the characters are probably going back to level 1. The level cap in this game is 50. I don't think you're going to start at level 50 with all your materia maxed out.
Yeah, but then they'd have to at least have some meet you in the middle, because it's like you put all this work into a character, and you're going into the next section of the story, which is 3 years from now, and they're like, oh, well, because you're starting a next section, all that work you did to make your character pretty good for this section.
They might start you with something, but I don't know that it'll be dependent on your save.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's been my question with, if the second game's just, like we said, some people will just play 2, the second part. Is 1 done? Can you not revisit anything?
That's a good question.
That's the question.
I mean, these are probably all questions they're trying to answer while they're working on 2.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, they're porting probably this game to PC. I think there was a report out, and it'll be coming to PC. And I'm sure
it'll be an adequately remade but slightly crappier version, so it'll get the same reception.
No, they'll probably put it on PC and Xbox. Every Final Fantasy that's come out since
13
10 now is on Xbox.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they did put that on Xbox.
They put 10, 12, 13,
remakes,
15.
Or
I don't know about the MMOs.
I think 9 and the remake of 9 and remake of 8.
Realm Reborn, I believe, is on Xbox as well.
No, I don't think. Is it?
I don't know about the MMOs.
I would say no. Realm Reborn is
guessing.
not on there.
I said I believe. If it's not, I was wrong.
No, because they were saying how when it was rumored that it was coming to the Switch, that they were like, oh, it might also come to Xbox too. No, it's still only PlayStation
They need to put
okay.
1 through
Or
6 on the
N3.
Switch. That's all I'm saying.
What's that?
They need to
Yes,
put 1
we
through 6 on the Switch.
Yeah, they do. Like I was looking the other day, I'm like, I would have totally bought them if they were there. But I think like they have to meet a happy ground. Like they can't just be like, okay, your character's going back to level 0. You know what I mean? So then maybe they should have said level cap's 50, so everything you're going to be fighting is level 50 and above. You know, to kind of like even it out, so you're not losing all that hard work you put into the game. You know, playing it for, you know, the 3 years you have to wait till part 2 comes out. Or
Well-
they should have just dropped the level cap back lower, you know, or something. You know, there's got to be some give and take there. You can't just shit all over the progress that your player base put into the game for this second part.
Dare I say it? They might do something similar to, and I hate to say these words because of how negative they're perceived in the online community right now. They might do something similar to a KH3 situation where at this point, like you've played with this character through multiple games, it's Kingdom Hearts 3. Why doesn't this dumbass know how to dodge roll anymore? Because you're playing a new game. They might start you with certain starter abilities, but everything is still at level 1 so that you can still progress towards the level cap. Because level 50 to level 100 in part 2 might be kind of weird, but you need level 1 through level 50 in part 1 because trust me, hard mode is hard. And you want level 50 on your characters and your entire party. But I don't know. I think they might reset the levels just so that the gameplay itself scales like a game, but they might start you with certain materia or equipment or whatever. Like not just the Buster Sword for Cloud. You know what I mean? But you also still need something to progress towards when you're playing part 2. And materia levels up in this game,
Which is
I don't,
cool.
Yeah, which is great. The materia levels up, and what's even better, the weapons level up. So I'm on chapter 12 of hard mode New Game Plus, which is just like chapter select. And I've used Buster Sword for all but one fight so far, and it's great. I can use the starter weapon because it's iconic and I like it in the cutscenes, and it's a great balanced weapon anyways. So I like that that's viable still, even though I have like 5-6 other swords for Cloud. So I think they'll have to give you extra stuff besides like basic bare essentials to start the game, but I think they might restart you at level 1.
What if they start you at level 50 and you just continue the experience logarithm however it goes, but the rewards are stretched out differently than the first game?
But not everybody's going to finish the first game at level 50. Like if you
No, I'm talking when I say the first game, I mean the original.
What do you mean the original? Which are you original?
Final. So like with Final Fantasy VII. Okay. So the only RPG I really remember from the NES era is the original Dragon Warrior. And that's more because I played it. It was the first game like I beat with my mom. Like she and I played that together. But as you level up in that game, like you learn spells as you go. So that's sort of the reward for leveling. So let's say 1 through 50 in Final Fantasy VII Remake has its stretched out rewards. I don't know if it does. I'm speaking hypothetically here. So if I am making this impossible, stop me. But because the weapons and the materia also level up, like maybe that's the scaling that the second game will go with.
Yeah, I think the problem is just like if you beat FF7, end game chapter 18 is beatable around level 35. But if you stop there, you're going to be level 35. But if you continue on to chapter select or New Game Plus or hard mode, whatever you call it, you're going to hit level 50 very, very quickly because it like triples your XP and AP game, or like triples one and doubles the other. I forget. So like different people, like if we're talking about continuing your save, different people are going to be at different levels, and it's going to be hard to scale the second part to like, oh, some people finish the game at 35, some people finish the game at 40, 50, whatever.
She does have a good point.
So I think the level is going to have to reset even if you get more than just like the Buster Sword or the guard stick or whatever you want to like, or the metal I forget what Tifa's weapons are called or whatever.
But they could do it like Borderlands. So like when you're playing Borderlands 3 and, Jason and I are, we finally Jeff decides to jump back in and he's not level capped for for what we're doing.
It scales.
It scales for him, but we're still dealing with the hard hitting stuff. So like the game could just have an algorithm where it scales, where it says, oh, character's level 35, brings everything down to scale with that. Oh, you're level 50, leaves it at the max, and then they don't have to worry about, players finishing the game at a higher level
or not playing the game.
Or not even playing the game.
Yeah,
The person comes in at level 1 and the game's scaled down to level 1, or you and I, which are and Justin are probably going to beat the game and max out our characters after a while of playing. We might come back to it over the years, but before episode 2 comes out, we will probably have max level characters, everybody. And so we'll go in there and they'll be like, all right, everything is like level 55 for us.
But then what do you work towards? And does it matter? Like if level 50 character has the same experience as the level 1 character.
Because 99 is the cap. You're after 99.
Yeah. And Justin, you can disagree with me on this, but I feel like leveling your character is less influential than leveling your equipment and your materia anyways. But if you have all max level materia, I don't even know what other materia they would add besides new summons. Like what spells are they even missing and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's the interesting part. And I agree with you. Like, I think equipment is more important in this one because it adds more material slots and everything, and you can and they make it really easy to reset.
And it changes your stats.
Yeah,
like some weapons will give you a lot of health. Some weapons will give you a lot of attack. You could
be a glass cannon or a tank.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you'd be a glass cannon.
And you can easily reset it. So if you want to be that tank, you can be a tank.
With Chadley.
Chadley. But it's interesting you bring up the materia and what they're going to add, and I'm like, well, I don't know.
Knights of the Round. Knights of the Round's got to be there.
Sure. They could do something like that. But it's interesting because it's going to be summons, and there's only a couple of magics I can think of, like Comet, Earth, I have not seen yet.
Nope.
So
there's 12 magic materia.
And they added new ones too, right? So they have the auto cure and all that other stuff where you get ATB stuff. So they're adding their own spin on it. I guess it depends on how they kind of develop it. And I guess, let's be honest here, we got 5 years till episode 2, most likely, guys.
Yeah,
I hope not. It can't be. It's got to be 2 to 3. Also, chakra materia is OP. I love it.
Did they left out summons, right? Like, because you're
not. There's some summons, but not all.
Oh yeah, like I would imagine, like
I was gonna say I've seen gifs of summons all over Twitter.
Yeah, there's.
Like I would imagine, like Alexander, Odin.
There's no Odin. There's Ifrit, Shiva, Leviathan. There's
Bahamut.
3 DLC summons, Bahamut, and I think that's it.
Well, there's if I remember correctly.
So there's 3 summons.
The original Final Fantasy VII had 2 Bahamuts, Nioh and Zero.
Yeah, and then like I said, like Knights of the Round is obviously nowhere near this.
It'll be interesting, Jason, because the thing is, a character can only equip 1 summon.
Yep.
And summons don't come in. You don't call a summon like it comes. Michaela, maybe you can speak to this because I've never actually figured this out. When do summons come into play? Is it only boss fights?
It's not only boss fights. It is not only boss fights. I think it's when you're screwed. I don't know.
I think it's when you're struggling. I think that's what the screen
said. I don't know.
The
it's not even when
like
you're struggling.
When you're fighting, not even struggling, but
when you're in
fighting
a hard fight.
Right.
Like, I've been in there's a Coliseum with a bunch of optional fights, and it almost starts to load up automatically. Even if I'm not getting Shrek'd. But so I think it's
getting Shrek'd. What?
I love that.
You gotta learn my link. When I was a Twitch
is there a
streamer,
donkey in this game now?
When I was a
Mother Fluffer.
Mother Fluffer. Fluffing nuggets was a thing I used to say a lot.
Yes.
I used to avoid swears, but now I don't. But it still swears up every once in a while.
Okay. Serious question. Why the fuck would you avoid swears? It's so much fun.
Because it was hilarious.
I mean, fair.
It's more fun with your viewers.
I mean,
Yes.
granted, when
currency,
she
you know
said
how you
getting
can, like-
Shrek, I did not think about anything but fucking Mike Myers walking out of that tree.
That's correct. But no, like
That'll do,
you know how you
donkey.
can have
That'll
you
do.
can gain currency for like sticking around in a Twitch channel. It was nuggets because I used to say fluffing nuggets a lot, stuff like that. It was fun.
They were bits.
Whatever. Creative swearing. It takes more energy.
True.
We had a point.
No, we're talking about summons. They don't come
Summons.
into play just in boss fights.
Yeah, no, it's not just boss fights.
And
Yeah.
sometimes they show up when you're getting Shrek. And then you brought up the optional Coliseum or the Coliseum with a bunch of optional
I think it might be
boss fights.
event.
It sounds like the most Kingdom Hearts thing in this game.
Oh no. And again, Justin, Justin, did you finish the game?
Not yet. I'm on chapter 15, 14 or 15.
14 or 15. 14 has side quests. 15 is beyond that.
Yeah.
There's only certain chapters that have side quests. It's like
Oh, I didn't know that.
3,
Actually,
8, 9, 14, something like that.
I think I'm in chapter 3.
14, you're in the Sector 5 slums and you have.
So something
side
with
quests.
a pillar fell, something fell.
That's chapter 12. That's where I'm at in my new like hard mode play.
Moose is in chapter 3. Michaela's beat the game and passed Moose in
I took
hardcore.
3 days off. I am still working full time with all of this, but I took 3 days
Same
off.
here.
So like I had a long
Division
weekend after
2.
Easter to play this, and
Oh, nice.
my physical copy didn't come in on time, so I just got digital so I could start playing it and didn't want to waste my vacation.
Well, and that's like, and that's the other thing too, is like, huge fan. You know what I'm saying? Like, and not that I'm a huge fan of the series, but it's like you were like ready for it, taking vacation for it, you know, and ready to go. I'm like, oh, buying the game, playing the game, and then
He also
grinding out exotics on Division 2.
Yeah, he also has a
freaking
Division 2
fires up,
problem.
and I'm like, God damn.
Okay,
But anyways.
so there's enough people here that were present from the Nerds Gone Platinum. Can we call Division 2 the new Bloodborne?
Yep.
Yeah.
Wait! I gotta Moose. Did you play Bloodborne this week?
No.
Wow.
Wait.
You did play it last
How
week.
did you, like,
I
tweet
did
about
play it last
Bloodborne?
week.
You
Not
played it
last
last
week.
week.
I
We
did.
just got into Monday.
I did.
No, you did. You were
Yeah,
playing
within the
with.
past 7 days.
You did. 'Cause
Yes,
you
I
were-
did. I did. I
yeah.
played
So
Blood.
no, you can't. You can't call Division 2 Bloodborne yet.
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay.
Anyways.
Division 2, you're on deck.
I also tweeted, "What's your most what game would you be most excited about that's unannounced right now?" And of course, guess who said Bloodborne 2?
Well, not Moose, because he's still playing Bloodborne. He's like, I just want to play Bloodborne.
I said Bloodborne 2. I said, but
I
I'd
know you
also
did.
take Horizon Zero Dawn 2.
Yeah, my tweet was about Horizon Zero Dawn 2. That's the
Ooh,
one I
that's a
put
good
forth.
one.
That would be a good one.
It was an excuse to have a tweet that wasn't about Final Fantasy VII in case people were getting annoyed with me.
No,
Smart.
you're not. I've seen some people that are annoying about it. You're not, so
Oh, thank you.
no problem. So I feel like we've been going a while. I'm not going to end it here, but let's get some final thoughts from everybody that's played it. I'm gonna start with you, Justin.
Final thoughts.
Yeah.
It's everything I wanted. It's so much more. I'm enjoying it. Granted, I do think people who have played it in the past will carry something more weight towards it. So if you've played it before, Jason, it's funny you mentioned the whole. What happens if they release part 2 and you just jump into part 2? I'm like, I don't know if anyone could do that. I don't know who would want to do that, but it's interesting you bring that up because
Well,
I
I don't know if you've ever noticed, but sequels tend to sell better than first installments of games.
Yeah, that's true.
do on it.
And no one ever goes back, or at least very few people go back.
Yeah.
But overall, I'm very happy with the game.
Okay.
And I'm looking forward to going back to it again. And I don't know if I'll get the platinum. Sorry, I don't play
Don't
games
worry
hard.
about it. Don't worry.
This is a
about it,
nerd
Justin.
gone platinum. You're okay.
Yeah, there you go. So I think, but I'm enjoying it.
It's a Final Fantasy. Most people don't think you need to play. Like, it's like, oh, I've never played a Final Fantasy. Oh, you'll be fine. So people will do that with this one. Like,
Well, that's the difference. Like, they're all just a story about, like, based off Final Fantasy. Like, it's
Mhm.
not the only ones that have the same story are like what 13 Lightning's
10 and
Revenge.
10 too.
Lightning
Yeah, 10
Returns.
and 10 too. And so, like, This one, I feel if they'd be smart to say, we're going to do some kind of like, was it a comic book when they put out Mass Effect 2 on PS3?
Yes.
Because
Yes,
you couldn't play Mass Effect yet, but EA was like, we're putting Mass Effect 2 out on both consoles because we're gonna make a shit ton of money, and so they put out a comic. I think they could do like a little 30-40 minute thing where it's like take you through the story and just you can make decisions, and then that'll build where your characters are at when you pick up.
They'll probably do like a movie, like for KH3, because it had been 13 years since KH2. They did a recap movie of like everything important you need to know that you could just watch from the title screen.
But you still can't figure it out because that story's convoluted as all
You just
hell.
need a PhD.
I don't have time to get a PhD in anything I enjoy, yet alone Kingdom Hearts. Anyways.
But if you need to know where to get in that first bit of insight in Bloodborne, he knows it like the back.
I'll tell you, like the back of my hand. Anything else, Justin?
No, I think that's it. I think it's a fantastic game, and I think it's easy for anyone who's never played an JRPG before to maybe jump into this one.
Okay.
The remake, yeah.
Do you see yourself doing multiple replays with it, or maybe just one more, maybe trying hard mode, taking characters to max? Like, do you see replayability in it?
There is some replayability. There's a summon in there that if you do all of Chadley's battle stuff, you can get them. So I'm like, oh, well, that's something to strive for because I want to see it.
Yeah.
But
there's also different dialogue choices that changes certain things. Like there's certain scenes you can get. So there's some replayability in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Multiple playthroughs. Okay. All right.
Cool.
Michaela, final thoughts?
Final thoughts.
You're gonna get the platinum.
I'm gonna get the platinum. Working on it. Chapter 17 is gonna be hard for the platinum because there's like the hardest fights in my opinion are all in that chapter. So that's see me after that. The game is amazing. There's some negativity on Twitter like, oh, we didn't want Kingdom Hearts, or no, we didn't want Advent Children, or it's too long, it's too short, too much filler, whatever. There's certain people who are going to, like we said this on the last time I was here, there's people who are going to find reasons to complain about it. And it's a reimagining, so it's not a one-to-one with the 1997 version. And I am all here for it. I'm excited. Certain things I hope stay the same because they have certain gravitas and impact, and I don't want to see that undone, but I'm excited for the next chapter. The one thing that we haven't brought up that I want to bring up, because like the combat's amazing, the characters are amazing, the environments are amazing. The thing that blew me away most and helped me feel both the old and the new the most is the soundtrack. I think this is an automatic nomination for an OST of the year.
Yeah, it is
holy
really good.
Crap. It is so good. It is so good. It is nostalgic and new, all wrapped in one. It is so, so good.
I do like how you can go and like buy the music and find it.
It's a collectible.
And then, like, yeah, it's like a collectible, which I understand they had in 15. I just didn't play it long enough to find them. But
it's so good.
I think that's really awesome.
Great. Yeah, even the remix songs, like, oh, this is a familiar song, and it's like, wow, they added a really cool tune to this.
Twist on it. Yeah, there's of the 31 music discs you can collect, there's 2 versions of the Chocobo song, which is great. And there's a third one when you get like a fast travel option in chapter 14. They took the victory song, the da 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 da, and set it to a tango, because why not?
Nice. I like that.
But even just like going through areas, like my favorite area is the train graveyard, and hearing the music come through that, very ominous, and the things they did with that, it's really great. And you can hear the similarities, but it's so much more complex because they can use, like, it's not just synth recorded, whatever, it's like actual orchestra and real instruments. You hear it. And Uematsu is a god. Nobuo Uematsu is a god. He did a great job. But basically the whole package, I'm very excited for what is to come next. I have high hopes. I have some fears because I have trust issues with Square Enix, even though they own my wallet. But I am more optimistic than not, and I loved every one of my 60 plus hours so far with it, and would highly recommend. There is you got to play FF7 first to get the most out of it, in my opinion, because especially when you get to the end, there's going to be some things you're going to be like, who is that guy? why is this happening if you didn't play the original and you don't get the weight of it. It's a game for the fans.
To avoid spoilers, I think I know what you're talking about, but I also think if I'm correct in who I think you're talking about, I think there's a cultural absorption of that character too. Like,
maybe not. There's a couple things I'm talking about.
One
of them starts with a J. I think you're talking about the one that starts with an S. There's another one that I won't even give the first letter to.
I know the other one.
Spoiler.
I know the last one.
I know the last one.
Clearly, I'm not talking about Kate Sith because who cares? But
I know the last one because it reminded me that I saw a meme. It's like, why is it Final Fantasy Remake? Just finish it. But it's the same. Just finish it. Why is it just finish it? I finished. Oh.
Yeah, there's so many great, and it's funny. It's got light and humor, even though it's a dark game. It made me cry. Not many games have actually made me cry. The last one that actually made me cry might have been Nier Automata in 2017. I cried in Chapter 12. I cried.
Great, I'm gonna cry.
But there's also some of the funniest things, like the cross-dressing stuff with Cloud, where Tifa's like, Cloud, and he's like, yes, I nailed it. I know he's wearing a dress. Or when
That's great.
When Aerith goes to smack a bitch with a steel chair. It's great. It's hilarious.
I can't wait for that.
Yeah, it's really well done. Really well done. Honeybee scene is great.
Yes, I don't want to get off the roller coaster. Basically, that's it.
Yeah,
that's my final thought.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So Moose, you're still very early on. Anything to add here?
I'm loving it. I do highly recommend playing the first one. If you've played the original, which is on PS4, then you'll enjoy this one just as much. There are a lot of similarities. I agree with Michaela where it's nice that they're changing some things, but keeping a lot of the stuff that had the weight and the nostalgia kind of alone. And yes, the combat's awesome. I was kind of hesitant at first, but now I'm enjoying it a little bit more. I want to replay it again because I want to get a lot better with the combat system and move to hard mode, and then also try and get way better at the combat system, because then I'll be even more prepared for part 2 when it comes out. But I'm thinking of platinuming it as well. That's how much I like it. And it's also making me enjoy the characters and the story so much that I might actually go back and platinum the PC port, just because that one's, because I'm going to be at the end of this, I will probably be oh, I can't wait to see that character. It's oh, I just go back to the original, you know what I mean? And play that and see those characters. And so it's just, I'm enjoying it a lot. And so I think if you're looking to get into a Final Fantasy game, I think it's a good one to get into. I like the updated combat system. Because you're oh, I missed the turn base, but then you're this is just as much fun, and it takes just as much concentration and strategy. So
I wish my one wish is they would make Classic applicable to other difficulty modes.
Yeah, because it's just
they would
easy.
Do that.
That would be really cool. And yeah, because Classic is the turn base, and it's why do you just put it on easy? Just make it, let me pick which way I want to do it and do turn base, it's just, I don't know. But anyways, I'd like to try that to see how it plays that way and see how the camera operates and moves. One of my only real big complaint is the fact that the camera's so locked in on the fight that you're getting attacked from multiple directions, and you're I don't know when to dodge, because you're attacking a target, and you're I don't know if I should dodge or do this or block. And so I feel I'm taking a lot of unnecessary damage.
Try backing it up. You can choose the distance.
Oh, you can choose the distance on the camera. Dude, done. That'll probably ease my struggle probably significantly. But yeah, I love it.
Okay,
I can't wait to get back to playing it.
Before we get out of here, Jason Phillips, any interest? Does this conversation sway you towards playing it in any way, shape, or form?
I was already going to play it, but
okay.
The conversation, it's always fun to hear people who are passionate about something share what they're loving about it.
Okay.
But I was already going to play it just for nostalgia purposes, really.
Mm-hmm.
No, you three jokers did a terrible job. Not.
I love you too.
Jason.
Jokers. Damn.
So
No,
Justin
I'm
and
not-
Michaela apparently won't be back.
No, I'm not.
I had so much fun till the end.
I'm not really. I don't know. I wasn't interested, and it's not. Yeah, I know Final Fantasy 6. It's not that argument. I just
Right.
don't really. You know what? I didn't really like 15,
Okay.
so I
But
don't
we
want.
talked about that.
No,
We
no.
need not talk about 15.
I know, and it's not. But it's not just the boy band.
What did
shit.
the boy band do to you, Jason?
They exist?
I mean, that
came
makes
up with a
them
new
larger
recipe.
than life.
No, you know what? You know what it really is. I like my RPGs like Octopath. I like that style. Like that's
Not necessarily even that,
It's
or
not-
just the side view.
the side
the-
view,
yeah.
the waiting,
Yeah.
like that's just my preference for an RPG. So
Right.
even if 15 had cooler characters,
Did it?
I said
I said
even
if.
if
Even if.
it's just not my style of. So it's not really what I'd be. It's not the type of game I'd want to play.
Tearing up my heart, Jason.
Are you, wait,
I'm just naming boy
What?
band songs now at this
Wow.
point.
I was like, did he just drop a reference?
Yes, I
So-
did. So,
We're gonna go bye.
oh.
Aw.
That's the fun, guys. It's time to go.
Taking my earbud out.
And Jason, pick up that mic and drop it. So,
What about you? You think you'd try it since you have access to it?
I watched one of my favorite developers actually play through the first hour and a half. I watched Rami Ismail of Vlambeer stream it. And I'm like, man, this game looks really good.
Yeah.
I don't know anything that's going on, but
I feel
some of this looks fun.
like
Right.
like you wouldn't even have to like play the first one, because I'm sure there are so many YouTube videos out
Oh,
there where you
yeah.
can watch like the stories and people just talking about like characters and giving you background details, and then you could just launch into it and have those references.
I
I mean,
mean,
you
like,
wouldn't
even-
experience it firsthand, but you'd still have it.
Even as I was watching, I'm like, oh yeah, there's that guy, and there's that's the one whose boobs are too small. If you ask the fan base,
Which I'm like, no.
and then there's that one who people are worried about being a stereotype, and I was like, all right, but the truth from my point of view is like, I don't know the story. I don't.
That might be good though.
I don't have the reference, and the thing that the stuff that is like sort of absorbed in just culturally, I don't think does it justice. But that's probably with all media in general. Like for example, everyone knows that Darth Vader is Luke's father, but if you go on that journey, it kind of hits a different way. So I have thought about playing it. I have some things I want to play through this year. But if the call is strong enough, I'll probably answer. So I guess we could say I am Final Fantasy VII Remake curious at this point.
I do have to say, I'm happy that it's overwhelmingly positive. A reception.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah, that's
happy
the
for
other
the
thing,
fans.
too.
Like
Yeah.
I've literally seen no negative thing. Like
From whom? Fans or review outlets?
both. The only negative one is from
Follow
a
better
site.
people than me.
No, hold on. The only negative article I saw was from a site that isn't to be named because they're garbage. And I'll just say, saying easy mode is too easy makes you a moron. Easy mode's supposed to be easy. Don't complain it's too easy. That's
This might be
point.
the site that also said that they have really realistic air conditioners.
Yes.
Yes, I know who you're talking about.
It sounds like a critic that would also say Dark Souls needs an easy mode.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's right.
So that's one of two places. I
I have a few guesses, but
yeah.
This place just lost their best writer.
For the
Yes.
love of God,
Oh,
his name's
there it
Kotaku.
is. There it is.
Oh,
Kotaku. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There
Yeah,
you
no,
go,
there
listeners.
has been some like I
that
actually
review
went on
comes
a
out.
social
Jason
media
Schreier
blackout.
says, "Nah, I'm out, son."
Yeah, I went on a social media blackout for the first like 10 days of April because I follow a lot of Final Fantasy fans, and FF and KH fans are so toxic, and I see some really negative stuff from them.
Mhm.
And in terms of FF7 Remake, it's about like the last 30 minutes of the game, and I like people were kept saying like, "Oh, it's another Kingdom Hearts. We didn't want a Kingdom Hearts." I'm like playing this whole game for 35 hours, and I'm like, how is this game Kingdom Hearts? You literally have to Google it, and that's when you know if I had to Google how is this game Kingdom Hearts, that the fans are just being a-holes. So I'm glad you haven't seen any negativity because I want to spread the love. There are some things in this game, like there's some like technical UX-y things, like the like when you're talking to an NPC, the facial expressions and the lip sync is very different than when you're in a cutscene. Technical things like that, but otherwise, this game deserves all the love.
But to be fair, I wasn't actively reading Final Fantasy VII Remake articles. Like,
These aren't articles. I'm talking just
no, but like, just like if I saw a review, which I never do, I would skip to the score, like, because nothing was going to really change my mind as to, like, I wasn't playing now, so it wasn't like an interest. So when I said mostly overwhelming, I didn't like dig, but of course I came across that site and those articles because they're always front and center.
I gotta watch ACGs. I haven't watched any FF7 reviews yet, but I want to watch ACGs.
He did a pretty good job. I liked it.
I mean, I did read GameSpot's review, which gave it a 10. But I read a lot of their stuff just in general because they got good people writing for them,
and they're solid.
GameSpot's
usually a solid site to get your information.
And
from.
like they don't. I mean, it seems like lately they've been handing out 10s, but also they don't just hand out 10s, in my opinion.
What's the last one they gave?
Well, they gave 2 this week, or this past. Well, the week Final Fantasy VII came out, they gave Persona 5 Royal and Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Oh, well, that makes sense. It's Persona 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But they give Resi 3. Now I'm curious because it was sandwiched in there.
Resi 3 was like a 6, I think.
Wow.
I'm looking. Yeah, 6 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Like the overwhelming.
A lot of people are not happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the people are saying it was just kind of dull.
They felt like it was more of DLC for Resident Evil 2 than it was like.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. It hasn't followed up Resi 2. But if Resi 2 didn't exist, what would people say about the Resident Evil 3 remake?
They would probably give it a higher rating.
That is a timeline that just doesn't exist, so we can't go there.
And that's true.
But
timelines.
before we get into any more tangents, I think it's time we probably end this, unless anybody has any final thoughts, because we've been going a very long time. Anybody?
Nope.
Okay. So Justin, where do people find you?
I guess you can Google me. I don't know. Isn't that how you guys found me? You can. I mean.
Yes, I Googled.
No, it was Craigslist. What do you?
Craigslist. Actually, you guys.
Yeah, it was Craigslist under I'll play games, but I don't know.
Right, I knew that was coming. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. I'm actively on there. Jushin, Jushin.
Also, your PSN name. Yeah, I'm letting people stalk you now.
Okay.
I'll stop. No, you were a good hell diver when we did that. So, Michaela.
I am, like you mentioned, with Obelisk, OBILISK.co. We are not your average news and reviews gaming site. A lot of editorials and stuff like we want to put out there. And then I am pretty much everywhere, PSN, Twitter, RedXMod.
Cool. Well, as for the rest of us, you'll hear where we're at the front and the back of the show. Yeah. Moose, what do we tell the people?
Bye.
At Story Route Zero, we have some cool friends who do some cool things, and I'd like to tell you about them. Phoenix Overdrive uses the power of games and gamers to help heal sick kids through the charity Extra Life. Phoenix Overdrive fundraises for Children's Miracle Network hospitals all year, every year, and the fund culminates in a 24-hour gaming marathon. Find out more about their events and projects online via Facebook at facebook.com/Phoenix Overdrive or on Twitter and Instagram at PHX_Overdrive. You can also join the Facebook group of Pawn Stars at facebook.com/groups/PO Nation in order to share and discuss all the latest in nerd culture. They've also got a podcast, Nerd Overdrive, which you can see weekly at youtube.com/Phoenix Overdrive. You can also catch it on Facebook Live or twitch.tv/PHX_Overdrive. That podcast is also published on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Stitcher. You want merch? They got merch. Merch can be ordered from tinyurl.com/PHXODmerch, a portion of which goes to their fundraising efforts. Join the nation and be a hero to sick kids, as El Capitan Rey Osorio, Lee the Maestro, and Becky, the lovely queen of the guild, always say, #Rise Above. This has been an episode of Story Route Zero. Thank you for coming along on this journey. We sincerely hope you enjoyed yourself as much as we enjoyed having you. Once again, you can find everything we do at StoryRoute0.com. Hit us up on Twitter at StoryRoute_0, or you can email us at StoryRoute0@gmail.com. If you'd like to hit us up individually anywhere, you can find Moose at Sven, that's SVHENN, everywhere on social media. That's PSN, that's Twitter, that's Instagram. You can also find him on Twitch, streaming games. You can find Jason Marshall at GimpyJ, with 2 Y's at the end. That's Twitter, that's Instagram, that's Twitch, and he also has a website called whereisthepausebutton.com. Captain Canada is the only Story Route Zero exclusive. He's the only one you can only find right here on the show. As for me, I'm Infinite_Rewind everywhere I'd like to be. That's Twitter, that's Instagram, that's PSN, and Twitch. I also have my own website, InfiniteRewind.com, where I do all sorts of weird writing and rambling. Check us out at all the places. And remember, you are always welcome, and you will always have a seat waiting for you on this ride. But for now, it's back to the real world for us. We will see you on the next one.